Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, can we have the representatives of IPI please approach the chamber? John, can you try to hook up those ropes? Thank you, Mr. Browne and Mr. Tao, for coming up in a short period of time. Obviously, we're here to discuss the letter that was written to the members here, and with CCC and the Lottery Commission. So we want to get some clarity as to how to go about, and I believe the members here are open to discussing and with the issues with IPI, we are willing to listen. And so before we start, I will give either one of you, Mr. Browne or Mr. Tao, 5 minutes to pretty much discuss what was written and was sent up to the Speaker's office early last week. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay? Thank you for the invitation here to today's, I guess it's a hearing or meeting. There's been ongoing discussion, as you know, and we talked to the legislature and the House for quite some time about our financial situation. So we've been going back and forth with the governor before my time and the Attorney General, is what I understand, to try and get some relief and actually have a 9th Amendment to the casino license agreement. And I wasn't involved in any of those previous license agreement amendments, nor was I in the original, but I do know the Public Law 1856, and I also know what the casino license agreement says. So for, I guess, the early part of this year until now, we have been threatened with the revocation of our casino license for various things. Not having enough payroll on hand, not having a CEO, not having various other things through commission orders. So we had dialogue, we thought was productive dialogue with everybody, including members of the House. And then subsequent to that, we received a complaint for revocation of our casino license. So that sort of forced our hand to write a stronger statement. And all those statements in that letter are factual. Anybody can look into the law itself. And should, where this is headed, we don't want to go. We want to be a part of this community. I've got 2 children born here. I want to stay here the rest of my life. But this is headed down a path I think nobody wants to take, because it's there's motions and threats and lawsuits. We don't want to do this. We always wanted to settle this behind the scenes. We don't want the public to see all the craziness that's going on. But we had to point out that we have never had exclusivity, because gaming exists. If there's a person here that says gaming does not exist outside of the casino, then I think they've never walked down the streets of Saipan. They've never walked into a poker room or an e-gaming place. By statute, by law, by Department of Justice rules, by 15 USC, I think, 1171, all those devices are gambling devices. We can't say they're not. So that's our position. People say, why now? Well, when you're ready to be pushed off a cliff, you have to do something about it. You have to do something. You just can't sit there. I've got a livelihood. All these people that still work for us have a livelihood. We've got a commitment to CNMI. Yes, we have financial troubles, but that's not the time to threaten somebody's license in the middle of a pandemic. And probably, according to the World Bank, the worst economic downturn in 150 years. And that's what we're up against. So, do you want to open for questions or?
Okay, Mr. Tao, are you gonna present a statement? No? Okay. With that, I'll open it up to the members of the committee, and does anyone have a question? Okay. Rep. Blanco, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Mr. Browne, could you just expand on your plans with the touchback issue? I understand you have several employees whose CW contracts are expiring in September. They want to go back home. Can you just share with us what the plans are? And something was also in the papers today that you pay them to stay here, but there's no work, and then you have to pay their flights, airlines to go back. So
I defer to Tao.
So obviously, we're still trying to figure out what would be the best time for us to open. Right now, we're under the requirement of the government to close the casino. We do have about 260 CW employees. At this point, I think they fall into 3 categories, right? The first one, for the ones they want to kind of voluntarily leave, they sort of had it, they can resign, and then their 3/4 guarantee will be paid before they leave or at the end of September, right? And the second category is that for the ones that we want to go through the full term, or they leave around the end of September, and they don't want to get extended. For those, we'll pay them the payroll right after the end of September, which is the beginning of October. So we'll pay the 3/4. We'll schedule the payment, and then we'll pay for their repatriation cost. And the last one is really for the ones they really want to stay. At this point, we're extending everybody's CWs. We certainly hope that most of them will stay, and then we'll open the casino soon. So for those, again, we'll pay them at the end of their current CW cycle, and then we'll extend. Hopefully all of them will get an extension by the USCIS, and then hopefully by the end of this year or early next year, we'll open the casino.
Thank you, Representative Blanco. Rep. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Don and Tao. I don't know the lady to your Ellen? Henan, welcome to the chamber. I know you alluded that IPI is being pushed over a cliff. I do agree that e-gaming, poker are a gambling device. I came out strongly with that in the article yesterday, that when that legislation was crafted back in the 18th legislature, that was before the e-gaming, before the casino license exclusively. When that legislation was introduced, I know for a fact that Best Sunshine was on island already, planning to move forward with the casino license. In any sense, it has nothing to do with taking this e-gaming away from the casino. You're welcome to have e-gaming in your casino. Nobody's stopping. But we were looking at how to generate revenue for to better the cinema economy. when I ran, I followed closely Best Sunshine when it was crafted during the process of the license applications and numerous hearings and how it went about. There was a lot of community concern with the casino itself that came and attended the public hearing, and I fully support the intent of the having the casino because of the economic impact that it would give us a huge vote, electric vote to revive our economy here, because our only industry, the tourism industry, was not, it was in a state of disfranchising itself because it's very competitive out there in this world. That was one of the rationale behind me following and supporting the casino industry. But as time moved on, the casino build-up was not foreseen moving at the right direction. Numerous amendments were made with through the Lottery Commission. Matter of fact, the last was amendment number 8, if I'm not mistaken, or amendment number 9. And one thing that was not considered was how was this build-up was going to happen. I wasn't part of the negotiation process, but failure of trying to secure the workforce was the biggest obstacle that you guys went. And through that process, there were so many flaws in how the construction was coming up because IPI was having issues hiring construction workers. And, you know, as the saying goes, the tourists were being utilized to build this casino. I was a bit disappointed. At this stage of time, we do understand that IPI is shut down. But what I want to know is, what has IPI come up with? How do we revive this casino industry? What approach are you guys planning to do if the governor opens up and say we're going to allow the casino to open up? What is the plan? Is there a plan in motion that we as the committee can hear? Because for now, I'm skeptical in supporting the casino to reopen because it's gone through so many court proceedings. I don't know where you guys are in this court proceeding right now. It seems like IPI is being sued left and right on matters precluding to the casino industry of non-payment. There's concern about employees not being paid. How has that been addressed? But most of all, what plan have you guys come up with to open up? Because I want to hear, how is it going to open up, and how is IPI going to survive if we can't even bring in gamblers? By what means? Who's going to patronize it? Are we looking at the local? Because I don't see that's going to happen. So what is the plan of IPI when it does open?
Thank you, Representative Lipon. You've always been a supporter of ours, and I understand your frustration, everybody's frustrations. And yes, it's well documented that we have numerous court cases. Our labor issues are the same as everybody else's labor issues right now. Our opening plans are essentially the same as everybody else's right now. It's unknown due to a number of factors. The labor issues, CW workers, repatriate, not repatriate, you still pay them whether they're here if we send them back to their home country, we don't have to pay them. But as long as they're here, they're employees of the company, have to pay them. So even if we don't open, and Hamney said most of the hotels probably will not open until May because of the airlines, so they're in the same boat as us. Do they keep their employees here, repatriate them? So the opening plans are contingent upon many things. Trump administration, China's our number one market for gamblers. If they are unable to come, then there is no plan. But without a casino license, we definitely can't operate. So we can build up a nice little hotel and, have hotel revenue that will barely, pay the bills, right? So the reopening plan is contingent upon keeping our casino license, which we value dearly, and we paid a substantial amount of money for. So, yes, I understand that how the e-gaming came about, but I also understand that we put $1 million towards a down payment, towards a registration fee or a license application fee based on Public Law 1838, which basically gave us the rights to all 20 or 30 different kind of gambling. And even Public Law 1856 says all gaming. All gaming is for the casino licensee. Matter of fact, gambling is illegal outside of the casino, is what Public Law 1856 says. And then, when you go down to CMC 4, 3154, et cetera, it identifies gaming devices very clearly. And then down the bottom, it's shoved if they're basically in a different type of establishment, it's not gambling. Now, I think one would see that as sort of like I don't want to comment on what it is, but you can't pay all that money for exclusive rights to all gaming and then allow gaming to proliferate. And we did recognize the Commission's efforts, and I think we have some sponsors in this room, of House Bill 2084, 21-11, where the Commission said, hey, we want all gaming under us. Well, you do have all gaming because it's only allowed in the casino. So that's what causes us to think today that the CNMI does not want us here. There's word on the street that they already have 3 or 4 other people lined up to take our livelihood away. We can't stand for that. So how can we really have an opening plan when we don't know if we even have a gaming license? Yes, like I said, we can run a hotel, I'm sure, but we came here for gaming.
Can I just add, if you look at the situation we're facing right now, yes, we do have some obligations and potential obligations on the legal matters. However, we do have a funding commitment letter from a fund. So it stated that they're willing to fund us $150 million, right? If you compare that number to all our current obligations, I think we can still, go forward. We're viable as a company. We have the financial strength. However, as any outside investors, large or small, they're looking at 2 things: whether IPI has a valid business plan going forward, how we can open up the market. We are at this point watching the case numbers from Japan, from Korea, from China every day. We're trying to figure out when will be the best time or earliest time for us to open. So we have a plan. So that's the business side. I think more importantly, all the outside investors, they're looking at the partnership that we have with the government, whether the government still strongly support us as they were, in 2014, 15, or 16, right? When the time was good. So that's what we're looking for. We're really asking your help in terms of helping us through this difficult time and show a strong partnership between the government and IPI, so that all the outside investors, they will be able to commit their funding.
So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Browne, is there's actually still no plan at all set in motion because of what's going through litigation and so forth. I do understand that regular scheduled meeting with CCC continues to move forward, and I don't attend those meetings because for various reasons. But what I'm hearing from the end result of this meeting, it's looking bleaker every day because it seems like CCC is only looking at one side of the picture. I don't know. I'm speculating here. With these meetings, I do understand that CCC is trying to impose some additional regs to see how you guys would meet payrolls, how would you meet the casino operation and so forth. But again, we need to have something concrete to see that you're seeking the gaming committee's support. Absence of a plan, I can't support anything that I don't see. I need to see something, as Mr. Tao alluded there, that there is a commitment for $150 million. We can sit here and speculate on that, but we need to see a proposed plan from your end for me to consider supporting the intent of your request. If we're just here to have this dialogue, this is not going to help me make a decision what's in the best interest for all parties. One thing for sure, the welfare of this community is my first priority, and I need to see from your end what plans you have once we get this hurdle, this big hurdle, this hum on the camel removed, because I got to prepare for that once that hurdle is done. So again, I hope that you have something to share with this committee and the chairman itself, but I'm still speculating with the idea of what is in the best interest of this community. I have no intention of chasing out IPI. We do welcome the investment opportunity. We want to fix what went wrong and work together as one. The industry is fine. It's just that we're in this pandemic right now. It's just the plan that I want to see. I want to see what you guys have to offer us in terms of how you are going to open and what marketing aspect do you guys foresee to bring in gamblers from outside. So with that, Mr. Chairman, Hugh for this time.
Thank you, Chairman Liban. Did you want to comment? Are you okay? No comment?
I guess in terms of plan, that's really hinge upon the when we can open, right, as a destination. We do have people looking at the different markets. However, I can just lay out the commitment and the things that we're doing right now, right, to enable us to open as early as possible. Number one, we're actively working on the construction. You can see the progress, you know, every day. We still have about 400 workers working on the construction site, so that when we open, we have at least the villa part, right? We're talking about 14 units that we can open, and then we can open some of the tower. That's number one. Number two, we still carry the majority of our workforce, right, including 260 CWs, right? That's a large burden on a company during the COVID-19. Right at this point, if you just put all the sort of daily expense and salary and benefit, everything together, we're still spending $2 to $3 million a month, right, during this COVID-19. That's a large commitment. So, and we have, you know, just named our, you know, CEO, so we have a leadership in place. What we're asking is to show the outside investors that we have the commitment and the partnership with the government. So that's what we're asking for. Instead of, you know, in the newspaper or in the open, we're arguing about, you know, whether it's exclusive license. I think if together we have a plan, and then, you know, the government shows some strong support to us, as all the other government, right, to the business during the COVID-19 around the world, I think that will give a lot of confidence to the investors and potential investors.
Thank you, Mr. Tao. Let me recognize, I believe the speaker is working on some bill, so let me recognize the speaker.
Mr. Chairman, can we get your committee members first, and I'll yield to them. I think they're done.
I go for second round. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your letter, I have a copy of it here. You were proposing that the $15 million, 15.5, be paid in the 15th year. Can you please explain to me why the 15th year and not not the 6th year or 7th year? What's the rationale behind? Is that a?
Yeah, I'm not sure why the 15th year. I mean, I didn't come up with that particular year for any reason. I'm not sure why 15 was picked. This is a consortium, and we have, you know, our people from our parent company, you know, working with us to try and come up with some solutions that will be beneficial to the community in the long term and beneficial to us. We want to see this as a long-term thing, which we entered into a long-term commitment. And I understand that everybody's living for today, and you know, Department of Finance Secretary and others have stated, you know, thank goodness for FEMA and thank goodness for the U.S. government, because, you know, I think it's closer to $200 million that we're receiving in CNMI, you know, this year, and without that, I think we'd be in dire straits here. So I think the CNMI understands that, you know, relief needs to be provided at times, and, you know, if somebody's there to provide that relief, it benefits everybody. If you look behind you and there's nobody there to provide relief, then what? So, yeah, I don't know why the 15th year, just...
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Browne. Chairman, are you?
Thank you, Rep. Blanco. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Browne, Tao,
afternoon.
Henan, good afternoon. Thank you guys for being here this afternoon. And Mr. Chairman, thank you to your committee for scheduling the meeting and affording the members of the House to be in attendance and ask some questions in regards to the letter that IPI had presented to our body and to the executive branch. It's the simple question is the request to amend the law. Obviously, Amendment 9 that you had presented to the Lottery Commission was to remove the payment for the $15 million this year. And that's the proposal for this legislation right now. And in this letter, you talk about the exclusivity of the casino license, knowing the fact that there was other industries entering the CNMI. I mean, 1856 repute, 1838 and 1843, and created a monster legislation that created the casino industry here in the CNMI. But it also said that it's within the CNMI, and Saipan is not only, the CNMI is not only Saipan. Rhoda and Tinian have their own casino industries that were by referendum. So if the question of IPI stating that they don't have exclusive license to gaming, we can't forget that Rhoda and Tinian amended the Constitution to allow casinos in their respective senatorial districts. Although this is a casino for the Commonwealth, and that's a big thing we need to understand. Matter of fact, when we introduced the legislation to legalize iGaming here in the CNMI, IPI was one of the first ones in the front in support of that legislation, and that didn't limit any license to any one exclusive entity. IPI stood strong in supporting iGaming to be legalized here in the CNMI. So we can't go back and forth and talk about, like what you said, talk about who should hold the license and who shouldn't. We all know that poker was presented here in the 80s. E-gaming was right before the casino, which became 18-30. So, I mean, those are the things that we had to take into consideration when we received your letter, knowing the fact that these other industries were already here. And we're talking casino, we legalize poker, we legalize e-gaming, and then we consider casino as something separate from those. That's why we had to have a standalone legislation for casino. And those are concerns for us, right? The $15 million, obviously, right now under 20-10 goes to the senatorial districts. I'm not a big supporter of that. Matter of fact, we have legislation that's sitting in the Senate to remove that and put that $15 million to the retirees' pension, the 25% pension, because that was the intent of what became 1856, was to save the retirement system. And obviously, the domino effect of the business itself would help the economy in excise tax, BGRT, employee tax, and MTIT taxes. So, and we're in a crossroad right now. You can't pay the $15 million. You already came out, you can't pay, won't be able to pay the $3 million this October. So in order for us to, we got to work together. The industry's here. There's only a few of us members that are sitting here right now that were around when the industry was created. But we inherit the decisions that were made from our predecessors. We have to make industries work here in the CNMI in order for our economy to succeed. There's talks about different types of legislations to address this issue. Mr. Tao, we spoke in my office a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how we can spread out the $15 million, or 15.5, I guess, right now, for the 6th year, for the remainder of the license agreement, which is 33 years left in the 40-year lease. But also with that understanding that you were going to get back to us in regards to how much you guys have in your community chest fund or community benefit fund to utilize those funds as the upfront payment for the $15 million. I can consider that as a community investment. Well, that we can do. But we need to agree to something like that so we don't lose out on the $15 million. And we can disregard 20-10 and direct that $15 million to the settlement fund for the payment of the retirees 25%. Because right now we, as members here, don't know where that money's coming from. The retirees are getting paid their full pension. We have no idea where the money's coming from because we don't have, it's not included in the budget for 2020. So how they're being paid, that we're gonna have to next door. but to this day, we haven't gotten an answer to that. So if we want to amend the law to allow that flexibility, we can remove the 15 years, so you guys don't have to worry about paying $30 million in the 15th year. Rather spread that $15.5 million from year 7 to year 30, year 40. And it's not gonna put a dent to you guys, unless you want to inherit that to the 15th year and pay 30.5 or whatever the GDP growth for every year compounded, because that 6 years not going to be stagnant at 15.5 million. You're going to have to count the subsequent years till you get to the 15th year. So you're willing to look at whatever the amount is then, and you compound the 8 years prior to that, that's going to be more than $30.5 million. But if you extend the 15.5 through the 40 years, that's something we can consider. But we have to have the commitment also from IPI to have that money up front for the settlement fund, at the very least right now. Is that something that you guys want to comment on for now, and then we can elaborate on?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Yes, and your last point, I couldn't agree more with you that it's just going to compound. By the 15th year, that's not 15 million anymore. It's substantially more. So spreading it out does make more sense to me. But with regards to the exclusivity on gaming, we didn't claim exclusivity within the CNMI. Our license agreement said within the 3rd Senatorial District. So that's what we're concerned about. You know, we understand there's casino going in Tinian, and we actually are supporting them to a certain extent with, assisting them with some of our employees that have left to get them staffing, because, their success also helps the CNMI. So, yeah, our exclusivity, we are only contending should be within the 3rd Senatorial District.
Okay, well, thank you for that. But if we're talking about the 3rd Senatorial District, how come the money's spreading out to the Commonwealth?
That's what we think. Why does our license fee go to Rhoda? Why does it go to Tinian? I don't make the law.
I understand that, but 1856 is very clear that we're legalizing casino for the Commonwealth. So technically, IPI didn't have to choose Saipan. They could have gone to Rhoda or Tinian because it's part of the Commonwealth. They could have gone to Pagan. They could have gone to Agrican. So by allowing casino in the Commonwealth, it's from Mog all the way down to Rhoda. So if the challenge is the exclusive license only for the 3rd Senatorial District, it really doesn't jive like that, because the money, it's not a local law that created the casino here in the 3rd Senatorial District, or a local initiative that legalized casino in the 3rd Senatorial District.
And I didn't draft the license agreement either, so I wasn't here until February 2015. So yeah, I didn't draft the license agreement, and I wasn't involved in how 1856 came about. Although we put our $1 million based on 1838, and then there was 1843, 1856. So yeah, I don't know, how those other laws affect our license agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Browne. But 1856 totally disregard 38 and 43. They do not exist.
Okay.
Whatever was in there became 1856, and it destroyed 38 or 43. But again, as a Commonwealth, it's from the farthest north to the farthest south.
Understood.
So if the letter stating that he didn't get exclusive license, I totally disagree in that sense, because we legalize poker, e-gaming, and casino in different modes, not as one chunk, and then separated them at the end. These industries came before, and you still don't have. I mean, if what's the dynasty would have been open the day IPI opened. It's not exclusive still.
Yeah, maybe you can excuse my naivety, but I do believe that those places only exist by law because they're not gambling. Somewhere along the way, they became gambling. And a gambling device is very clearly defined by the Department of Justice. The CNMI acknowledges the Johnson Act, so they know very well what a gambling device is. So that they exempt themselves from the prohibition on interstate travel of gambling devices, which is proper. You have to do that to bring them in. And so there's a very clear definition in the Gambling Device Act of 1962 that defines what a gambling device is. So you then therefore can't jump all over the federal law and say this is not a gambling device. Especially for us when it's a gambling device in our operation, we pay dearly for that, and it's not a gambling device just across 500 feet away in some instances. So that's our contention. We want everybody to work together. We're not saying get rid of everybody. We are saying that we're pretty much paying for nothing, and we would like some sort of just relief, some sort of help from everybody so we can all go forward together. That's all we're asking.
I understand that, but if you review 1856, also there's a specific provision that only relates to the third senatorial district in regards to poker gaming. There's a specific provision that anything after that date that's not a new license and so after April 2nd, 2015, no new or additional licenses for pachinko in the third senatorial district. Okay, so the creation of 1856 for the exclusive license of exclusive casino license in the CNMI actually targeted only the third senatorial districts in regard to the poker industry. So, again,
I don't want to debate all these little intricacies, but I just want to say that we're saying it's not gambling when it is, and that's why they exist. And like I said, we're not saying get rid of everybody. We're just saying we should get what we pay for. And if we're not getting what we pay for, then we should find a way to reduce that. And there's so much case law on this where legislatures do the right thing. Legislatures are supposed to find money. They're supposed to be creative. They're supposed to find money for the local economy, and that's a very, very tough job. I could never be a member of the legislature because, I'm kind of focused on one thing. And yes, that's what they do. But when you look at all the case law on exclusivity and gambling devices and confiscation of gambling device, definition of gambling, it's very clear that our case is very, very strong here. And there's no winners here. We don't want to be a winner. You can have no winners when people are kind of going against each other. The only way to win is to agree on something reasonable. And, that's our goal. It's always been our goal. We just dialogue, and it seems like it gets you nowhere, and then all of a sudden your license is going to be revoked. So that's, it's hurtful, I think, to the company.
yeah, and sorry, we have no control in regards to the revocation of any licenses, right? We're sitting here, we're trying to figure out a way to make sure that you succeed and government succeeds. If there's one thing that's very common that we've been asking for the last year or two at the very least, is the actual benefit fund. How much do you guys have in the benefit fund? And let's start from there. If we can get the benefit fund out, because that's outside of whatever your obligations are, but it was part of Amendment 6 or 7 that the $20 million should be paid. If we can get those funds and direct them to the settlement agreement or pay whatever the APGA that we can take care of up front, we can actually take that $15 million, remove it for this year, but spread it out for the remainder, whatever, 33 years left. That's something that we can consider. If you can give us the numbers now, we can start working on legislation to figure this out. the quickest. We're not here to revoke anybody's license or anything like that. So,
Yeah, I think we forwarded all the information on that, on the benefit fund to some regulatory body. I'm not sure who it was.
Mr. Chairman, is that in your committee by any chance? Special committee?
Yeah,
You just got it?
we have.
How much is in the, there's zero funds in the community benefit?
Yeah.
Is that accurate? There's zero funds in, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Zero funds in the community benefit?
I'll have to get back to you and validate that statement with our finance.
Can we ask how much so far have IPI put into the community benefit fund? So the number we've been getting is like 1 million, 1.4.
I recall it's 14.3.
$14.3 million? That's 5 minutes.
10 million was the first draw on the community benefit fund. And per our license agreement, it went to the CUC for the payment of, I guess, everybody's, I wasn't here back then, everybody's power bill. And that was the first drawdown of $10 million.
Okay, okay. Also, that's part of the community benefits.
Yes.
I think it was called something else. when
No, they
got
called
the
it
$10 million.
community benefit fund, yeah.
Okay, so Chairman, I yield for now to other members.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Rep. Guerrero.
Thank you,
Vice Speaker.
Chairman.
Then Rep. Sablan.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Tai, welcome. And thank you for
Thank you.
responding to our call to meet this afternoon. I'm reading your letter, today's letter, 1 September. Under the conclusion, are you familiar with this letter, Mr. Brown, Mr. Tao? Okay, so in the conclusion, IPI is requesting that the annual license fee for the 6th year be delayed until the 15th year. And I'm glad that Rep. Ivan had asked that question. 15th year would put us 2029, if I'm not mistaken. That's almost 6 years from now. And I think this is, you think, and you said, we believe this is reasonable in spite of all the struggles that IPI is facing in the past, present, and what to expect in the future. This is 6 years without the license fee. But regardless, and you stated that we believe this is reasonable. And then you stated that in the interim, IPI will not object to the continuation of e-gaming or poker parlors in other facilities outside of a casino. So, Mr. Brown, Mr. Tai, I'm asking you, concluding your letter this way, are you saying now that poker parlors or e-gaming, as authorized by law, is allowed to be operated outside of a casino? Because these facilities are not casinos. Do you understand this statement that you guys made? Mr. Brown, Mr. Tai, please.
Yeah, and that was not my letter, but I will say that we don't have the right to determine what's legal and what's not. We can point out what's not legal according to what we read, but yeah, we can't say
Mr. Tai.
we can't say you have to stop them or start them.
Excuse me, Mr. Tai, Mr. Brown. Today's letter or today's headlines, IPI has accused this government that we breach exclusivity of casino gaming. When e-gaming was established, it was not for a casino facility. It did not say build a casino and operate e-gaming in a casino. That's not what it said. It is outside of a casino facility. You as an operator will be, if it ever succeeds, you will operate a casino within a casino facility that you are now currently building down in downtown Garapan. So you're saying you're not familiar with this conclusion that you have made? Yes or no, please?
What I think that is a part of the negotiation, meaning that we won't object to them surviving this as long as we get our fair shake, because, you know, the Public Law 1856 and our license agreement are very, very clear. Gambling in the CNMI, gambling, at least in the 3rd Senatorial District, is only allowed in a casino. E-gaming and poker are only allowed to exist as a non-gambling machine. Somewhere along the line, they have become gambling machines. And the Department of Justice certainly would, you know, validate that. You don't really have to be an expert to know. I think we are all, you know, we all know that they're gambling devices. But by CNMI criminal code, they're only allowed to exist because they're defined as not gambling, which it's just is opposite of what the definition of gambling is when you look at the definitions in 3154. So we're just saying we don't object to them surviving this as long as we can all live together, and we can't pay $15 million for non-exclusive rights. And that's, I think that's what that, I'm sorry I wasn't familiar with the conclusion. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Browne. So I think the way I take this conclusion is basically you're saying, let us pay you in the 15th year. And if you do, we won't object for existing poker parlors and e-gaming outside of a casino. So, Mr. Browne, Mr. Tai, e-gaming facilities, poker parlors facilities they're not casino. That's the reason why we created the casino law, Public Law 18-56, because it says, and it authorizes you to construct a casino facility and then operate casino activities in that facility whenever it's going to be completed. I think we need to look into further Public Law 18-56 and the e-gaming law, and then also kind of look at your letter of today and kind of further review it. And I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Chairman,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Chair recognizes Rep. Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to the House Chamber. Just for the record, would you please all just state your names and your positions with IPI?
I'm sorry, Ms. Sablan.
Would you please just state your names and your positions with IPI for the record?
My name is Henan Ma. I'm the Vice President of the Hotel Operation from IPI. Thank you.
Donald Browne, CEO.
And Xing, Public Affairs.
Thank you. And are you a Vice President of Public Affairs, Mr.
Yes.
Xing? Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Browne, you were very recently appointed as CEO, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how recently was that?
Sorry. July 17.
Okay, and what are your duties and responsibilities as CEO at IPI?
To oversee the entire operation, to assist in engaging the governmental bodies, assist in capital funding, oversee, human resources, just the entire operation, try and get everybody to work together and follow the rules and the laws of the CNMI and the United States.
Okay. So at the last meeting with the CCC, I believe you said that your scope of work, your position description was still being finalized, but now it's finalized. Do you have clear duties and responsibilities?
Yeah, it's 2 pages or 3 pages.
Okay. And is there a new organizational chart now for IPI?
Yes, it's an ever-changing, as people come and go, it's ever-changing.
Okay. Would you be able to provide this body, though, with both your position description as well as the new organizational chart? As you are probably aware,
Yeah, CCC already has that. It might be easier if you just get it from them.
are you not able to provide us with that as
Well,
well?
we've got like 2 people in HR right now, so it might be a while before you get it.
I see.
Is that a requirement?
It's a request, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can try and get that.
Okay.
We have over 300 positions, so maybe we can get it to you electronically.
Sure, that would be preferred. I mean, one of the challenges that I think this entire government has had is really knowing who's in charge and who we can get answers from. And, we received in this body a letter that you signed, Mr. Browne, on August 26th. And then this other unsigned document of September 1st. Who's actually writing these letters and statements for IPI? Is that yourself, or did you write both of these documents?
No, I had some influence on those documents, but we have, like I said, there's some consortium of people that are engaged to, provide input, advisors, board members, and, our team in Hong Kong.
Okay. So I'm just curious about this unsigned statement that asserts IPI's claim of exclusivity being breached by the Commonwealth government. Where did this come from? Who wrote this?
Rep. Sablan, I apologize. That last letter you got, I received from Mr. Tao earlier, and I just pass it on to the members just for their reading.
Sure, but it's
I'm not sure it's an actual position because it wasn't signed, but it was given to me.
Okay, well, Mr. Tao is here, and so is Mr. Browne and Ms. Ma. So, what is this? Is this who wrote it?
Of course.
Yeah, so actually, we're aware of the document. So we were invited to a meeting by the chairman today. We actually did not, as we come here, I ask you that we actually did not even know this is a public meeting. We thought it's a, private meeting. We can have some discussion. So these are some like a discussion points. Yeah, we list out.
I see, but again, like who actually wrote this then?
It's collective work. If you read the first couple pages, they're very much the same as the letter that our CEO sent to the governor. Yeah, and then we add some additional information in terms of our legal matters.
Okay. So on the subject then of exclusivity, which is raised in I guess your talking points then, is this what this is? So you're relying primarily on Public Law 1856, correct? And so I just wanted to draw your attention. The speaker was reading part of that provision, but it's pretty clear in Public Law 1856. I'll just read it to you. After April 2nd, 2015, no new or additional licenses for poker, pachinko, or similar amusement machines, but not including electronic gaming machines as defined in the law, shall be granted or allowed to operate outside of the approved casino establishment, hotel, or La Fiesta within the 3rd Senatorial District. The licenses issued for poker, pachinko, and similar amusement machines that began its operation prior to April 2nd, 2015, shall be allowed to continue operation in the 3rd Senatorial District. So businesses that existed prior to April 2nd, 2015, those licenses are allowed in the same law that you cite as the basis for your exclusivity breach that you claim. Have you read that part of the law? Yes, please.
May I respond? Yes, I've read that part of the law, and I've also read the part of the law that says they can exist, and you will have no more licenses for those, provided they are non-gambling games, because they are not gambling as defined by law. Now, yes, we all know they're
I'm
gambling,
sorry,
but
where are you seeing that? Could you
look
cite
into your criminal code 3154
our
for
criminal
CMC
code?
3154.
Where's our legal counsel? Could you please look that up? Thank you.
I think it's like number 4C or A.
I'll be right back. Thank you.
And that's why they're not supposed to be gambling games, but they have become gambling games. I don't know what year or what day they became gambling games, but by law, by code, they are not gambling games. And those poker games are games of skill. Well, we all know they're not, because the Department of Justice will tell you that they're not. And all the U.S. code will tell you that they're not, and the Johnson Act will tell you
Okay.
that they're not.
Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off, but my time is limited. And while our legal counsel is looking up that provision that you cited, you do acknowledge then that Public Law 1856 allows for these licenses and these pre-existing gaming operations to continue in the 3rd Senatorial District after April 2nd, 2015.
As long as they were for amusement only.
That doesn't say that in this
They're under the
particular-
Amusement Act, Amusement Code.
And we can get back to that. But just moving on then. So you would agree, Mr. Browne, that IPI's financial troubles predated the pandemic, right?
Yes, if we would have had the $23 million a year that the amusement games that are really gambling games would have provided us, I think it would have helped us. I don't think this is the
Okay.
forum to debate,
But
potential legal action.
But the reason that you're coming to this body is because you're asking for a break, and you're alleging that, one, the CNMI government has breached its own commitments under the license, and two, that you need some relief. But IPI's financial troubles predated the pandemic. Like, we know from the tax lien that the government has filed that there are taxes owed since 2017. We know from DPW being here in this chamber that IPI has not submitted any updated assessments so that developer taxes can be paid. You claim in your letter to us, asking for this break, that $1 billion has been invested here, but we know from DPW's submissions that not even close to what should have been paid in developer taxes for a $1 billion investment have been paid to the Commonwealth. And that, again, was before the pandemic. You have a consent judgment with U.S. Labor. You have lawsuits upon lawsuits, as one of our colleagues said. We know the Community Benefit Fund is now down to zero and has not been paid even close to what was committed in the license. Are you current with your payroll with your workers?
I'm sorry, I didn't know this was another scheduled, hearing. We were invited here by Chairman to what we thought was a private meeting. We would have, prepared for a public meeting and to be drilled again by the public. This was supposed to be a productive discussion. It seems not to be a productive discussion. It's just
Mr.
a bunch
Browne,
of finger pointing, in my opinion.
you are asking for a lot of this government.
If we can schedule something, we can prepare. If you give us a list of all the questions, we can prepare a statement for that.
You are asking for amendments to the law and amendments to the license, correct? And so what I'm asking is, what commitments under the license has IPI actually honored with all the amendments that have been granted?
Well, if we need to amend Public Law 1856 to allow gaming outside of a casino, then let's do it. But right now, gambling is only allowed in the casino in CNMI. It's not allowed anywhere else. And that's our point. So that's what we're here today to discuss. Yes, all you have to do is go down to the federal courthouse, and you're going to see a lot of me there, and I've seen you there, Ms. Saban. Yes, we have problems, of course, and that's why if we didn't have problems, we wouldn't be asking for help and assistance. And we know the CNMI has problems too, but we don't have a big brother to help us out. Nobody's here to help us out. We don't qualify for any kind of relief from the federal government because gambling establishments pretty much don't get anything because of some old laws. So all we're doing is asking everybody put their collective minds together, and there's a lot of very bright people in this room, to help us come up with a solution to this, not to tell us how bad we are, because everybody tells us how bad we are every day.
Understood, Mr. Browne. But we also need some assurance that we're dealing with you in good faith, right? And that you have the capability to honor your commitments, and that you have a plan for doing so going forward. And one of the questions that came to my mind listening to Mr. Tao earlier, you mentioned a $150 million investment or a loan that has been committed, but you need the assurance of this government that you will still have support and you will still have this license. But my question is, we know from the most recent audited financial statement that has been made public, but that's back in December 2018, that the auditors were raising questions even then about IPI's ability to continue as a going concern. And this was, again, before the pandemic. Do you have a more recent audited financial statement that would tell us anything differently?
No, actually, our 2019 statement pretty much says the same thing. There are some concerns that we can remain as a viable concern without certain things happening. And certainly during the, pandemic and possibly, the worst economic downturn in what the World Bank says, I think it's 150 years, they said. Yeah, it's going to be hard to change our position. It's extremely hard to get funding. And when, people read that our license is going to be revoked, and that scares investors away. That's what, Mr. Tao was saying, like, they don't want to hear that. Even if it's true, can we just not put it out in the public? Can we just sit down in a room and say, listen, I've only been in this for 5 weeks now, and I haven't had the opportunity to sit with many people in this type of forum before, and I appreciate your having us here, but, this has got to be some sort of effort by everybody. And yes, if you read our 2019 year-end statement, it's not a pretty picture. That's our parent company. And we are still committed. We borrow $3 million every payroll period just to, pay our workers. So we're borrowing that money from our parent. And they have to have, somebody willing to lend that to them. And it's becoming increasingly difficult. That's why we're late on payroll and things like this, because they're trying hard. They're up there scratching. They could just say let it go, and our building can sit there for 15 years like some of the ones in Vegas do, but we don't want to do that. And we only have 400 construction workers. It's going to take quite some time for 400 construction workers to complete that project. Yes, we wish we had a local labor pool of technicians that could do that, but they don't exist. And, maybe it's our fault, maybe it's somebody else's fault, but, the trade school, you don't have a lot of people going to the trade school. And I said that at the SBA years ago, we have to concentrate on trades. We got to get people, because that's our biggest labor pool that, people can learn pretty quickly how to be a carpenter or how to be a plumber. And, those are the trades that we need on our site, welders and things like that. It's just going to be hard with this number of workers. So, and yes, we want the local workforce. We're committed to it. It's easier for us. You don't have to worry about touchbacks and CWs and H1s and H2s and USCIS. If I have to look at one more USCIS petition, I think I'm going to go crazy. But the fact remains is we have committed ourselves to the CNMI. The first thing I did when I got here in 2015 was meet with the Marianas College to open up a gaming school, but they weren't interested because they wanted accreditation and things like that. And we would fund it. We would use our labor for free. And so these are the type of things that people don't know, but I know, and people at the college know. So yes, maybe everybody thinks we're horrible and we're bad, but we're not that bad. We're just people here on the ground trying to make this work. And, yes, it hurts when unsealed things come out with FBI. It's all construction. Our woes are construction related. They're not gambling related. So if it wasn't absent construction problems, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Our problems are related to the construction. At some point, due to some behavior by others, we sort of had to take over the construction project ourselves, which we shouldn't be construction people. We were gaming people. It's not an excuse, it's a fact. So yes, I don't want to debate here on, where our funding's coming from or how far behind on payroll we are. Yes, we have to pay the people. It's the rules, I can go quite some time without being paid, but yes, I am supposed to be paid too, because it's the rules. So,
if I may just ask one more question for this round, Mr. Chairman. Since you raised the issue of construction and your worker issues, are you aware that IPI may be barred from foreign worker programs, including CW and H, if the company or the principals are found to have engaged in human trafficking or labor abuse?
Yes, we're aware of that.
And there is this, there's a civil lawsuit in which IPI has recently defaulted that alleges human trafficking and forced labor schemes. And then, of course, I think you were alluding to the superseding indictment in which IPI senior executives and other employees were implicated in federal charges that involve human trafficking, money laundering, unlawful employment of aliens, and RICO conspiracy. Are any of those employees still associated with the company?
I would certainly hope not. And it did name 2 employees whom I don't know are not
Mr. Lee
here.
Wen-woo and Mr. Janmin.
Yeah, they are seem like the 2 top defendants that I guess are indicted but not charged yet or not tried yet for whatever reason. And there is an ongoing case. Of course, I can't comment on that case because, the federal court hasn't made a decision in that case.
Okay. So what is IPI's plan then if the company is ultimately barred from these foreign worker programs? How will you get the labor that you need to, 1, finish construction, and 2, continue operations?
Well, we would be reliant on the CNMI to, start training people. We did have a training objective, and we, trained our people for casino. We didn't train people for construction. That would be like NMTI and, various other places to do. But I don't know how far advanced they are with that.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rep. Sablon. Rep. Martita.
Thank you, Chairman. Half a day, Mr. Browne, Tao, and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come and, hopefully we will have a healthy discussion as you asked. And let me just go back in time. As you all know, that, or perhaps, I was one of the strongest opponent of Public Law 18-56. And it's not because I oppose to casino itself. There are several reasons as to why. But nonetheless, Public Law 18-56 was passed by the majority of the 18th members of the House back then. And one of the reasons that I was strongly opposed because of the exclusivity, which is the 40 years. And on top of that, it's too good to be true, you know, or I get some kind, you know, emotional about, you know, because it offered $7 billion back then. And like Rep. Tina Sablan was saying that it would be like, you know, not even since 2015 to current, not even close to 1 billion. But again, let's forget that. And you are here to see how we can all work together in moving this. And as I read your letter dated August 26, 2020, and today, almost similarly written, I'm kind of, you know, because I was taught that when your horse or someone else has fallen down, or, you know, we shouldn't, and they're already, you know, down, we should stop kicking that person or the horse. And I guess this is where you guys now. And since, let me go back. Although I was a strong opponent of public law 18-56, and because it's here already, IPI is here already, I tried to support it as much as I could, believing that there are benefits that are already in place, such as helping the retirees, the many contributions that IPI has extended to the Commonwealth. And to date, I continue, and I hope that IPI will succeed, regardless of my strong opponent back then. But in 2015 and 16, I saw the benefits that, you know, so again, I tried to assist IPI the best that I could. I even tried to get a 5% tax for, you know, but then again, I hold it because I wanted to give IPI the opportunity to thrive, and, you know, because they said that they needed time before they could, you know, we could increase at least 5% tax. And then I hold back. And that's how I can say that I did, you know, try to help IPI. And to date, but what bothers me is your letter on August 26 and today's. I don't know who prepared it, but it's in your letterhead, so I suppose it's from IPI. Let me allude to what the Vice Speaker has said, and this is kind of, you know, if IPI is sincere and really committed, and I appreciate your last statement where you said that, you know, we would like to take the opportunity to remind the CNMI of IPI's unwavering commitment to establishing CNMI as a first-class destination for gaming and recreation. I appreciate that, but you know, such letter to say that, you know, you would agree to pay, I mean, to allow the poker parlors, the gaming outside of the casino, provided that, you know, the 15-year payment of the 12 15 million would be made on the 15th year. I think that's, for me, it's a threat. And I don't appreciate this kind of, statements. If we were to work collaboratively and cooperatively, and we want to see, at least on my part, the casino's here, and again, I'm a strong opponent, but it's here, and I'm willing to help out and see how, it would continue to benefit our people. And but such letters like this and how it's written, really, I consider it a slap on the face. And if in the beginning that IPI feels that you were not given that exclusivity because of the e-gamings that are currently on island, poker machines and so forth, why now that because you were not able to pay the August 15, 2020 license fee, that, IPI would come up with this issue should have been brought way back so that we can be able to fix it. But, for us to be given this kind of letter and to reduce, to delay the 15.5 million until the year 2029, I think that is unreasonable. And if the government, and also to decrease the CC management fee to 1 million. And again, that's unreasonable because, again, it doesn't work that way when public law was created in the 18th legislature. And again, like I said, I'm here to support, and I really want to see, and I've always said that I want to be proven wrong of the exclusivity back then. And again, it saddens me really that, and I do understand the plight that IPI is going through. And honestly, I wish IPI well, despite of my strong opposition back then. But again, let's work together, and let's not, for me, I consider this kind of letters very disappointing and uncalled for. We should just fix where the problem is, and not to, again, I was kind of disappointed to hear that, IPI is accusing the government of a breach of violation. We don't want to confuse our people. We need to tell the truth. And when there are issues, we should speak the truth with compassion, really, and not to, and you mentioned earlier, if I heard you correctly, you were saying that there were threats of revocation of your license, and I'm not sure I get you right on your statement, but those are things really that, those are ridiculous statements that we shouldn't even, go there. We should, again, when we see someone's, when we see someone down already, we should lift them up. We should, and in your case, I hear the plight and I feel for IPI, but please bear in mind that as representatives, we are also, we need to hear what our people, the community, are telling us. And we only ask that IPI abide, with the rules, and abide with the public law 18-56. With that said, thank you for being here, and um, I'm here to, listen and see how we can help IPI, because I know that our people are suffering. You are suffering. The company is suffering. But if we can get some, you know, help also for our community, I think if you succeed, our people succeed, our island succeed, and if you fail, we all fail. And again, like I said, all we asked of IPI is to follow the rules, and let's all move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Maritita. Rep. Peter.
Hey, thank you, Chair. Welcome, Mr. Browne, Tao.
Thank you.
Probably just a comment. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. There's so much that I could probably put, but I mean, Tao, you mentioned that what you're seeking is the support from the CNMI government, but just keep in mind that I think we went through 8 amendments just to satisfy, just to 8 amendments through to 1856. But you just keep it. I mean, we need this to succeed. We want the casinos to succeed. Mr. Browne is here to help you succeed, because without that, I mean, when the law was written, it was written just to satisfy that industry and to make sure that the lives of the CNMI people are, taken care of, at least for the next 40 years. But I mean, with everything that's been going on, even before the pandemic, I mean, we're looking at with your claims not saying that you ain't able to pay, you're not able to pay the 15 mil, but the business was functioning from October to February, right? What was it? Last year, October to February was close.
Yeah.
March closed at March 17. So I mean, if Chairman, if, on that 15 million, that's on an annual basis, right? So since you were in business for half of the year, wouldn't it be even at a fourth of that? That be possible? I was just kind of curious on how would that.
Yeah, we're open to everything. What it is it's due on August 12th for the remainder of this year and until August 12th of next year. So up until August 12th, we were pretty much paid up for the 15.5 million. So yeah, like I said, we're here to try and just get the collective minds together. We're not saying this is concrete, we want this, we want that. We don't make the decision, we can only make a request. And there might be better ideas out there. And survival is the key, because nobody wants to see that place just sit there in 15 or 20 years rusting down like is possible. And the only way to do it is try and help this survive. Like I said, we could possibly find funding just to finish the hotel and never have a casino, because that license is revoked, is in jeopardy right now of being revoked. And but I don't think that's a type of revenue that we anticipated, and the help that the CNMI needs, just hotel revenue. Although, I'm confident our rooms are probably the nicest in the Pacific region. We can command a nice price, but that's not going to be enough to help the economy much.
I know you've been mentioning about Big Brother and with all the other gaming sites that are existing with the pokers and the pachinkos, the e-gaming. I mean, hypothetically speaking, like if I was able to do that and take away everybody else's licensing, right? Or would you be able to start, if that's what you're...
Yeah, I don't think that's our goal. What our goal is to say that we've never had exclusivity. And, you know, we've paid 104 million just in the casino license annual fee, CBF and CCC fee. Now, CCC fee is $3 million a year for to govern one property. I don't think anybody governs all the other properties. Where is the regulation there? Who's making sure the slot machines on these non-gaming, because they're not gambling, who's making sure that they're paying out correctly? You know, there's gambling tax collected on those, but they're not gambling machines. So how can we charge somebody a jackpot tax? Do they all run down now to the Department of Revenue Taxation and get their money back because it's not gambling? So these are the things that, you know, go through people's minds. Like I said, our goal isn't to squash those. Our goal is to make sure people know that we have not had exclusive gaming rights, and that's what we paid the $15 million, even though the Community Benefit Fund is deficient at this time, and that's what we agreed to at the time. I wasn't here. You know, maybe somebody made some handshake deals, but I don't see anything other than no new poker licenses will be allowed or no new e-gaming, but they're not, according to the code, they're not gambling. But once they become gambling devices, that's where it's kind of it can't figure it out. CCC couldn't figure it out.
So you're talking about the code, your federal code,
Well,
that it doesn't fall into.
yeah, they are gambling devices. Nobody can dispute that. And even by virtue that the e-gaming law says they have to be authorized by SIQ or GLI, which only authorize and validate and authenticate gambling devices. So if they're gambling, they have three elements of gambling, which is consideration, chance, and prize. And they do. I've been in those. People get jackpot and they got to pay W2G gambling tax to the IRS, which goes to CNMI. So nobody can dispute that they're gambling, but the code says they're not gambling. And that's what's confusing to everybody, I think. So we're not here to change the rules or change the law. We just want people to recognize that, hey, you know, we have rights too. And yes, we apparently have breached the contract, as CCC keeps reminding us. But, you know, when you look at the law, and you know, what was the intent of it? It was to bring somebody here to invest and not sort of like go around the back and stab them. Like I said, I wasn't here. I don't know what people agreed to. I just know what I read.
Privilege, Mr. Chairman.
Are you?
Oh, thank you, Congressman Peter. Yeah, just, so I guess the privilege is at this point, I think it really would be timely and helpful to hear from our legal counsel on, you know, what their interpretation of this part of the law is in terms of exclusivity. I mean, the government is being accused of breaching an agreement, breaching the law even, and I think it'd be really helpful to hear from our attorneys.
Okay, maybe we can ask that at a different date. We're just
But I
meeting.
think they did have a chance to review it and just, I mean, like, we might as well we're having this conversation right now.
Privilege? I'll just finish up and maybe we'll quick.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the information. And I mean, we are working on, we're looking at what your statements, and it's been recorded, so we'll
Thank you.
definitely.
That's all we ask.
Thank you, Peter. Let me get the definition of gambling. Do we have that?
Well, the definition of exclusivity too, like what our law actually says, and how we would.
We also would need some time to prepare.
Okay, so maybe a different date. I think we just want the whole intention for today was because of the August 26th letter and the request for you know, suspending or postponing the license fee. And I think most of us here are willing to help IPI, and now we can see where you guys are at. Not everybody can attend the meetings with CCC. because um, it's their own meeting. We're not allowed to speak. Only make public comments. And the reason why, although we're just recording, we want everybody to hear IPI's position. We're not here to debate on what the definition is. I think what we need to put on the table is how we can move forward, and with regards to how we can have IPA reopen, and if that's something that the law needs to be changed, then it's up to the body here to decide, and we want to hear that from the company, and that's why we ask if you guys are available to make statements on behalf of the company. That's very important to us, because at the end of the day, we can't. If you say something that's not true or not right, then all the discussion will go to waste. But I think at the end of the day, we want to hear where you're at and then how we can help. Um, there was talks about changing the exclusivity to multiple license. That's something that was being brought up here by both the Senate and the House, and that's something we're looking at right now. And where would IPI fit, and where would the other investors or other gaming um, companies would fit in here in the CNMI. So that's something this body will be looking at, and this is just a start. I know things are not very clean right now, but I think it can get better in the future. And I know we need to sit down. I'm not sure if your attorneys need to be present as far as how to interpret our laws, and we can sit together with our attorneys, and then we can have an understanding, because I think we don't want to be going back and forth pointing, oh, this should be like this or should be like that, or this shouldn't be interpreted this way. When we made the law, what was passed, it was very clear, and that's always been the stance of this body. Now it's you guys, IPI is here, and it's how do we help you guys. It would be a shame to see a $500 million investment here in the CNMI come to a halt. I think most of the people in the cinema here would like to see you succeed, because if you succeed, everybody else. I mean, we see what's going around when the government shut down the economy because of the pandemic. You go around Garp and you see all those supporting business that support you guys are not there anymore. Maybe until things come back. So as government, it's our responsibility to look at everything and see how we can help. So I don't think we're shutting the doors on IPI right now. I think, like you said, we need to all sit down and put everything on the table and see where we can meet in the middle. I know in the past, the deals that were made, it benefited the scene. We saw a lot. I've seen a lot of improvements since 2017, 18, when everything was really good here. And now with the new, the term pandemic and the new economy, it's totally different now. So things have changed, but doesn't mean that we're going to close the doors. And that's my personal take. And if there anyone else that would like to add, or I really thank you guys for coming and answering. I know some questions were kind of tough, but the members here are not able to attend CCC's meeting and make comments there, and that's why it's beneficial for IPA to be here to answer the questions, and try to give us some directions too on how we would like to proceed. And then we can sit down and talk again some more. Speak.
Thank you. Do you want to go first? Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to go first. Chairman, thank you. I have just one question. We have this two letters. And we understand what you're asking of us, and of course, it's not only us that would make that decision. And like you stated, we need all the people that are part of this industry to chip in and kind of like talk over the issues. and listen to what you're asking of us and our government. So have you sent a similar message to our governor in regards to what you're asking us? You haven't? You have not?
The August 26th letter, sir? That was, yes, sent to the governor. Yes,
Okay,
that was actually
thank you.
intended for him.
Thank you. So, Chairman and colleague, this is beginning to boil down into different perspectives. They're asking for help, and also at the same time citing or allegation of breaching their exclusivity license. So there's two things are becoming to tangle up. And so Public Law 18-56, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask that our legal counsel review that in terms of exclusivity and give us a report and set a deadline so we can be prepared for our next meeting. If we can establish that today before we go home. Thank you. Are you for now?
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, Vice Speaker wants a deadline from me. Thank you for Chairman for kind of washing down and cooling off the little bit of the heat that's been going on this afternoon. But may I ask IPI, what was the position of the Lottery Commission on Amendment 9 that had been requested? Have you guys had a response from them or any discussion, anything from them at all, from the Lottery Commission?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I wasn't involved in that, but it got to the point where there was, so much back and forth, is my understanding, on Amendment 9. And then we thought there was active discussion, and we did visit, some of the members of the House to, get their support. And quite soon thereafter, we were served a complaint by the CCC for breach of contract, violation of public law, all these things. So our response was not to go to court and file our own motion or whatever the court proceeding is, our own complaint, but to send the governor a letter in response to the revocation of our license that was, so I don't know if anybody got a copy of that motion or the complaint by the commission. But that prompted us to think, hey, this is real. This is not just a bunch of people trying to work things out together out of the eye of the public. But I think here the public is more important than actually getting things done. And I appreciate Ms. Maritita. Gambling is not everywhere. It's not just here. It's a very touchy thing. You have church groups, you have various groups that just aren't sure about gambling. And so I can see your passion there, and I thank you for your support, even though you don't support the business itself, but you support the concept now that's here, and we all appreciate that. So I'm sorry if I got off on a tangent, but did I answer the question?
Yeah, I guess the simple answer is no. No communication.
So the last communication we had with the Lottery Commission was a request from us to them to schedule a meeting. So we haven't heard back from them yet.
So when was that, if you don't mind?
Probably a month ago. I can get you the
No.
exact
You
date.
don't have to do that. I'm just concerned. There's 3 of them, and they all live here on Saipan, and they're all 10 minutes away. Having a meeting shouldn't be that difficult to have. But obviously, Amendment 9 that had been requested to the Lottery Commission is something that's more of a statutory change, is what you were requesting.
Correct.
Unfortunately, they don't have that authority. In your opinion, in IPI's opinion, should the Lottery Commission exist, or should it just be the CCC?
So
Sorry,
actually,
this is
sorry
just
to
might be an
answer.
open-ended question because
Sorry to answer a question with a question. If we don't have the lottery commission, if we want amend the CLA, which body do we go to? Obviously not the legislature. I don't think, I'm not sure CCC has the authority. So, you know, the lottery commission, you know, in our opinion, might be the right one for now.
okay. No, I asked that because the weird thing is the casino commission addresses everything that happens with the casino itself, for the industry. They're they're there on a day-to-day basis. They understand the functions. The lottery commissions are three appointed members of the executive branch that don't see the functions of the casino, but yet make the biggest decisions for the CNMI in negotiations with the industry. It really doesn't make sense on our side because you have three individuals that are appointed, technically are appointed, confirmed by the Senate, that become the lottery commissioner decision makers to amendments to the functions of the casino when the CCC is the one that's actually attending to the casino. It's a really tough thing for us to understand. That's why when these amendments started popping up, we couldn't do anything about it because there's three individuals that were making the decisions without the knowledge of what's really the functions of the industry itself. And sorry, that's not that's just a question that I wanted to throw out to you guys because you guys have to always go to the CCC and answer their questions, and you guys get drilled over there. Or the CCC the lottery commission makes decisions. You know, it's just it doesn't make sense. It's the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing.
It is unique, and I know that it's either by code or by statute or by law that the Lottery Commission will maintain jurisdiction over the casino license since they drafted it. And I know it's in the CCC regulations as well. And like I said, I don't know if it's by law or code, but that's where it is.
Because 1838 created the Lottery Commission, right, to receive the potential investors that paid their $1 million. 43 repealed 38, then 56 repealed both of them. And when 56 came about, there's no such thing as the Lottery Commission in 56. It only talks about the CCC because the license had already been given out. It's very interesting from our perspective that amendments are going to another body when those three specific individuals really don't know the functions of the industry itself. You know, I mean, maybe it's a good thing for the industry.
You have the power, not us.
Yeah, but so the simplest thing is your request is the $15 million. That's essentially it at the end. It's a non-payment of the $15 million for this year and potentially the $3 million that's due in October.
Yeah, I think our understanding is we want to create some dialogue beginning there, and you know, we understand we are here to benefit the community, and you know, we want to fulfill that. But if we're not operating and we can't survive, then how is that going to happen?
That's true, and the industry's here. I, like many other members, are not necessarily in support of the industry, but we inherited what decisions that were made in the 18th, and we have to make sure they survive because it's for economic activity and the livelihood of our people. But we also need to be cognizant of the fact that making sure that their lives are not changed, but the businesses are successful at the same time. It's a big challenge. I mean, this pandemic has thrown a different kind of situation for us, but we are also the purse of the CNMI here in the House, and we want to make sure that all collections are there. And if your finance department can provide us what's owed to the CNMI, and we'll work with our revenue tax to see where we can meet halfway. I don't know what it is right now with the community benefit fund. I don't know how much is owed. If the $10 million is considered part of the first 20 million, that was, I don't know. But if we can get all of that information, and then maybe we can work from there. So we can spread this. I know August 12th is already gone. We're in September. And last year they gave you guys an extension. Is it like 14 days, 12 days extension last year for the payment?
Is that for the license agreement? or-
Yes, yes. For the license.
I'm not familiar with that, the timing on that. Like I said, I've just recently in this position, I had other duties and responsibilities. But yes, I do want to comment on all the amendments, and I still haven't caught up on them, by the way. And the original intention was that when we have our next phase, which we've been trying to get the Morphe land, as everybody knows, for quite some time, that's when the Community Benefit Fund would kick in, because we'd be making money by then. We'd have a hotel, full business, established our branding and marketing, but the people that were involved in the 8 amendments, I don't know who decided all that, and like, how are we going to make that happen when initially we knew we weren't going to have the money? It was all because I think the pressure of the schedule to get the property done, which, you know, caused a lot of problems. It caused people to rush, and that's what I think caused some of the problems initially in 2017. Rush, get it done, get it done, get it done. We are on a schedule. So I think that caused a lot of the problems, and all those amendments, like I said, give me a headache looking at those things. And it's basically just to get more time in the building process. So, okay, we'll start the community benefit fund. I don't even know what amendment it was, and it's number eight. Yeah, it just I don't think there was a lot of long-term thinking and foresight by the people that agreed to that, or you know, who even crafted that. And it's done is done, and if there's 8 amendments, there can be 9 amendments, and I'm sorry.
No.
Can I?
Go ahead,
can I
go ahead,
just
go
add that it's not, you know, without trying, right? So, and it's also a learning curve. When IPI signed the CLA in 2014, I think, you know, the company did not expect all the challenges on the construction side. As you know, our CEO just said, majority of the issues that we're facing today came from the construction side, right? We're casino operator, right? We did an excellent job on the casino side, but, you know, we're not expert on construction. I think we learned a lot. We do face you know, a number of lawsuits and issues on the construction side. But in terms of trying, right, we did invest close to $1 billion, right? We have a, you know, audited public report that you can look at in terms of the asset, you know, we have here. So in terms of the construction, you know, there are many delays. And previous, you know, the speaker said that that, you know, we got help from the government in terms of the 8th Amendment, but we gave up something as well, right? We agreed to pay the CBF, the Community Benefit Fund, early. I think that was a big mistake, to be honest, because you know, it was really something that we're learning on the construction side with all the labor restriction, with all the, you know, shipping difficulties, and, you know, not enough skilled workers. We are where we are. So for the COVID-19, this is pretty much the only thing we're asking, right? Because we're not getting help from the federal government, from any other programs. We tried everything, but, you know, we're not qualified. So this is the only thing we're asking in terms of assistance, so that we can, you know, get through this rough patch.
So you believe we should take over our immigration, take back our immigration?
That will be great.
No, but so Chairman, I really have no further questions at this time, but I know that the request to get your finance department to see what's actually owed to the government, and we'll get our end, we'll do a cross-check and see where we can start from there and move on. I know that the $15 million that's due on August 12th is supposed to be through next year, August 11, right? So if we can get something done in the next couple weeks, we'll figure something out. And the industry has to survive, guys, at the end of the day. But there's also legislation that's being considered on both houses, or in both houses. We have one that's sitting there that's actually would dedicate the intent of the $15 million to what the argument for 1856 was. And we can start with that, or we can move on with other types of legislation. But it's like the negotiations of the amendments with the lottery commissions. We give some, we take some. And that's how it's going to work. So thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, thank you, Mr. Browne and Ms. Tao and Lena, or I forget. Yeah, thank you for attending, and I hope to have further discussions as we get everybody on board. I know there's a legislation being tossed around right now, and something that we are considering to the full body, and then we can go from there and see how we can help the casino survive here in the CNMI. Thank you. Thank you, members.
Sorry, before we conclude, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add to the speaker's request, if I may, just real quick before we all convene or adjourn. In addition to his request for just I guess a breakdown of what is owed to the CNMI and you know, what can we possibly work with. You mentioned, Mr. Browne, that there is this audited financial statement of 2019. That's the most recent that's available for IPI. Could we also get a copy of that?
Yeah, we are about to, we have a mid-year statement, which should be out soon.
Okay.
Working on that now, and
Okay.
if it's not done now, it'll be done very shortly.
Very soon.
Okay, and then the organizational chart for your leadership, so that we have a better understanding too of who's in charge and who's making decisions. So we can also expect to get that as well.
Understood.
Okay, and then my last document request. I understand that IPI should have responded by now to FinCEN's findings of violations of the Bank Secrecy Act. I think that was a letter back in March. Has that response been submitted?
Well, it's yes and no. It's a very, you know, having been under FinCEN as a casino operator since 1985, I'm well aware of what, you know, what a FinCEN investigation means. We already had an IRS audit, and we're still answering some questions for IRS. And it's very complex. But the FinCEN, we have an attorney in California that is assisting us with this. The FinCEN investigator, you know, they ask for everything in the kitchen sink. So it's up to the attorney to be able to furnish them with what they need. So it's an ongoing investigation. FinCEN's job is to find mistakes that we've made, whether hopefully just mistakes and not something purposeful, and that's their job. And our job is to either discount those findings or agree to them, and then somewhere in the middle, you know, they'll come up with something that is true.
I see. So
And
you are still working on the response?
Absolutely. It's not going to be done in the very near future. It's an ongoing.
Okay, I see. Thank you. I yield. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.